Welcome to today's Explainer. We're unpacking something absolutely fascinating today that might completely reshape how you view your own life choices. We're going to be diving into author Ivana Song's brilliant exploration of a really profound question. Why does changing our external circumstances so rarely fix our internal problems? If you've ever felt like you're stuck in a loop, you're in the right place. Let's get right into it. So, can changing your job, your partner, or where you live actually change your life? We've all been there, right? We naturally crave that fresh start. You pack up all the moving boxes or you sign a new employment contract, and for the first few days, there's this wonderful, intoxicating sense of relief. Everything feels fresh, the possibilities seem endless, and the future just appears completely open. You think to yourself, this is it. This is the exact change I needed. But, well, then reality hits. The initial relief fades, and those familiar patterns, they come right back. After a while, the exact same conflicts, those same deep-seated doubts, or that sinking feeling that we've somehow ended up right back where we started, begins to creep in. And when this happens, it is just so incredibly easy to jump to a false conclusion. We tell ourselves that we just haven't found the right city, the right company, or the right person yet. But actually, the problem isn't the destination at all. Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1, the paradigm shift, the map versus the territory. To really understand why our problems seem to pack their bags and follow us absolutely everywhere we go, we need to look at a brilliant psychological concept coined by Alfred Korzybski. The map is not the territory. Think about a physical map for a second. It helps you navigate, sure, but it is not the actual ground you're walking on. It's merely representation. And modern neuroscience completely backs this up. Our brains are constantly building a predictive model of the world based entirely on our past. Your brain isn't showing you objective reality, it's just showing you its best guess based on what it's seen before. So, how does this mental map actually form? Well, it happens chronologically. It all starts way back with our past experiences and childhood messages. We're talking about the family dynamics we grew up with, our cultural background, and our early successes and disappointments. Then, these experiences gradually connect into repeated patterns, especially when strong emotions are attached. And finally, this repetition solidifies into your mental map. This map becomes the default lens you use to view literally every new opportunity and challenge in your life. Part 2, agitation in love, repeating familiar relationship patterns. So, how does this internal map directly impact our personal lives? Well, you've probably heard someone say, I always end up with the same type of person. Honestly, you might have even said it yourself. It's an incredibly common frustration. People will date completely different individuals. We're talking different backgrounds, different careers, and yet the story often ends the exact same way. One partner ends up being emotionally unavailable, or maybe they turn out to be excessively jealous. Even when the people change, that underlying script keeps repeating. And that is your map at work, determining what feels natural and expected. What's really fascinating here is the massive contrast between what is genuinely healthy and what a conditioned brain thinks is healthy. If you grew up surrounded by unpredictable dynamics, your brain's map defines that tension as normal. So familiar tension actually feels safe because your brain can predict it. On the flip side, a healthy, calm, and stable relationship, that might genuinely feel boring or even anxiety-inducing simply because it doesn't match the map's expectations. So we end up choosing toxic predictability just because we know how to navigate it. It's wild, right? Let's move to and see how this builds. Part 3, agitation at work, taking the map to work. We definitely don't just leave our mental maps at home. We carry them right into the office with us. Just like in relationships, we see these repeating patterns at work. Someone might change jobs 3, 4, or 5 times, only to ultimately conclude every manager is the same. They decide that all bosses are just unappreciative or overly critical. Now, while toxic workplaces definitely exist, a repeating pattern of job hopping that always results in the same conflict often reveals a whole lot more about a person's own internal map of authority than it does about the actual managers they're working for. And this brilliantly illustrates how the map completely alters our reality. Imagine 2 employees receiving the exact identical feedback from a boss. The actual feedback? That's the objective territory. But look at the differing interpretations. An employee with a secure map sees an opportunity to learn and grow. The employee whose early authority figures were harsh, however, interprets those identical words as a devastating criticism of their personal worth. The facts are exactly the same, but the internal map completely changes the reality they experience. Part 4, the solution, how curiosity changes everything. As the world inevitably changes around us, our decade-old maps become outdated. So how do we fix it? Well, before we can find a solution, we have to acknowledge the absolute biggest hurdle to our own growth. We treat our internal map as unquestionable reality. We experience our snap judgments, our immediate distrust of someone, or our assumption that we're going to fail as concrete facts. We rarely stop to ask why we dismissed a certain possibility without a second thought. We just blindly assume our map is the ultimate truth. But here's the good news. We can redraw the map. And genuine curiosity is the ultimate tool to do it. By intentionally meeting people who think differently than you and embracing unexpected experiences, you stretch your boundaries. When you consciously re-examine your very first conclusions and turn your snap assumptions into genuine questions, you are actively adding new dimensions to that outdated map. You're forcing your brain to acknowledge new data so that your map accurately reflects the life you are actually living, right now, today. Doing this requires a fundamental shift in mindset. You really have to move away from viewing your initial reaction as the only truth. When you can shift your perspective and view your feelings and conclusions simply as one possible interpretation, it's a real game changer. This shift is what allows you to accept constructive feedback without crumbling. It allows you to actually learn from a negative experience instead of just repeating it. Ultimately, it makes you incredibly adaptable to change. So the crucial point is this: no view of the world is ever final. Your map is something you build and refine over an entire lifetime. Every new book you read, every deep conversation you have, every single journey you take gives you a fresh chance to redraw your map with greater and greater accuracy. Real change doesn't happen just by packing your bags and moving to a new city. It happens through your willingness to pull out your internal map, look at it honestly, and sketch in the new territory you've discovered. I want to leave you with this provocative final thought to deeply reflect on today. Ask yourself honestly, is your map still guiding you where you want to go, or is it keeping you walking in the exact same circles, just in different locations? Remember, you are the cartographer of your own life. Keep exploring, keep challenging those assumptions, and above all, stay forever curious. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will see you next time.